everyone. My name is Emily Rubino. I'm Executive Director at Peace Action New York State and a board member of the Campaign for Peace, Disarmament, and Common Security and the International Peace Bureau. And I'll be your MC today. Woo! Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On this solemn anniversary, we gather to honor and mourn the lives of the over 210,000 people who were killed by nuclear bombs dropped by the United States and the survivors who witnessed unspeakable horrors on these days and those that followed. We also gather to recommit ourselves to creating a world free of nuclear weapons and the threat they pose to our planet and to our humanity. As we do every year, we need to make sure that we also uplift the story of those who have suffered directly from the horrors of nuclear weapons in every stage of their use and development, from uranium mining, nuclear testing, and the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's so fitting that this past December, before this upcoming 80th anniversary, a hibakusha organization, Nihon Hidankyo, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. With the average age of the hibakusha now around 86 years old, it is increasingly urgent that we continue to build and strengthen an intergenerational movement to pass down the knowledge and wisdom of the hibakusha and make sure that we continue to work towards a sustainable, just, and nuclear-free future. We owe a deep debt of gratitude to all of the survivors of nuclear mining, testing, and bombs for sharing their experiences, their stories, and their time and energy to ensure that no one suffers the same fate again. It's easy to feel sometimes like the challenges we face today, in this moment, are too big to overcome. But when you look at the facts, the fact that the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted by 122 countries in 2017 and entered into force into 2021, that there are currently 94 signatories and 73 state parties to the treaty, it's clear that the majority of the world wants to see these terrible weapons abolished, and each and every one of us has a role to play in making that a reality. We must be sure to hold the US and other nuclear-armed states accountable and urge them not just to re-enter and comply with existing arms control treaties, but to work towards the abolition of these weapons, join the TPNW, walk us back from the brink of nuclear war, and provide assistance for all nuclear victims. While we stand here, one of our PANIS student organizers, Nino, is in Japan at the World Conference Against Atomic and Hydrogen Bombs. It heartens me to think about all of the events happening across the world, including us standing here right now in New York City, and how we're part of a truly global movement. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be with you all here today and to be a part of and helping strengthen our anti-nuclear movement. Thank you everyone for joining us and for all the work that you do. No more Hiroshimas!
No more Hiroshimas!
No more Nagasakis!
No more Nagasaki!
No more Fukushimas!
No more Fukushimas!
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite John Breitbart up to talk briefly about Pete Seeger and lead us in a moment of contemplative song.
The song we're about to play was played in 1963. It's available on YouTube. And I'm not going to say much more. Mr. Seeger introduces the song himself. He brought this song back from Japan. I'll just say that, with his wife, Toshi, who is Japanese, or who was Japanese.
A song which comes from Japan. They say that hardly anybody up there has not heard it at some time. the place where our old home village was destroyed, we buried the charred bones of our relatives. Oh, we must never allow, we must absolutely forbid another atom bomb to fall. Deadly rain gathers poison from the sky, and the fish carry death in the depths of the sea. Fishing boats are idle, their owners are blind. Deadly harvest of 2 atom bombs. Then landsmen and seamen, you must watch and take care that the 3rd atom bomb never falls. Furusato no machi akare, Miyori no hane, umese yakatsuchi ni. Ima wa shiroi hana saku ayushu majigen baku o mitabi yurusu majigen baku o warera no machi ni.
Thank you, John, for sharing that important song. Following this theme of contemplative song and really taking a minute to think about what it means that 80 years ago these bombs were dropped, I'd like to invite Lorna Gonsalves to perform The Strangest Dream.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, John, too. I'm going to sing a song about a dream, so join me as we all dream about a world that is very different from the one that we have now. Last night I had the strangest dream I've ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed that there were mighty rooms filled with women and men, and the bill that they were voting for said they'd never kill again. And when the people cast their votes and results were checked and clear, they all embraced, and throughout the world resounding cheers were heard. And people spilled into the streets, dancing round and round, and guns and bombs and hand grenades were surrendered on the ground. Last night I dreamed that warring groups were marching side by side, chanting no more war, no starvation, and never genocide. And people all across the world organize and plan, and homes and schools and hospitals were built on war-torn land. Oh, last night I had the strangest dream I've ever dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war, to put an end to war. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Lorna. Next, as most of you know, Reverend T.K. Nakagaki is in Japan right now, but his associate, Reverend Lynch, has graciously joined us today. Reverend Lynch is Vice President of the Buddhist Council of New York, a federation of 80 to 90 Buddhist traditions in the New York City area, and representing over 1 million followers. In addition, he's on the faculty of Brooklyn College and is the official representative at the United Nations for Risho Kosai-kan. And Reverend Lynch is going to lead us in a meditative moment of silence.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. I just wanted to say a few words because I'm so glad to be here today. The distinguished guests, fellow peacemakers, beloved friends. Again, my name is Reverend James Lynch. I'm the current minister for Risho Kosai here in New York City, 320 East 39th Street, Peace Center. You're all invited to come at any time. On behalf of those gathered, I want to begin by expressing our sincere gratitude to the Permanent Mission of Japan for your presence, your dignity, and your ongoing commitment to peace and remembrance. Today, we do not simply remember a historical event. We return to presence. We gather here in stillness not to escape suffering, but to be fully present to it. Present to the cries that once rose from the scorched earth of Hiroshima. Present to the sacred lives lost in an instant. Present to the quiet vow that now stirs in our own hearts. So we may gather together in that spirit of remembrance, of humility, and of humanistic ideals that knows our lives are interwoven. Our suffering is shared, and our collective future depends on our awakening. So today, let us recognize the tireless efforts of all of you who remind us that peace is not passive, it is courageous, a daily choice to heal the past while building a just and nuclear-free future. And I wanted to end just by saying this. The infinite intelligence of the universe knows that it has no other hands than our hands, and no other feet than our feet, and no other tongue than our tongue. And that today, we are determined to use them wisely. And I'm going to ring a bell 10 times and just try to keep that presence of peace, knowing that even though we may be small in number, we impact the entire world by our determination today. What we do matters. And so I'm going to ring the bell with that determination 10 times. I too came prepared. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Reverend Lynch. That was beautiful. Next, we're going to hear a few words from some of our sponsoring organizations. So first, I would like to invite up Thay Campbell from the Manhattan Project for a Nuclear-Free World.
Thank you. I'd like to express my condolences to Hibakusha and all people who have been harmed by nuclear activities. The world's first atomic bombs were used against civilians in Hiroshima and Nagasaki 80 years ago. Although U.S. government has not apologized for this atrocity, I am grateful for all of you who are here gathering to acknowledge this. August reminds Japanese people the catastrophe from atomic bombs, so many deaths, so many sufferings, and the war itself. Warfare itself is inhumane. Targeting civilians makes it more cruel. Just recently, I looked at the photos of the starved, dying children in Gaza in the news program. Somehow, it reminds me the pictures of hibakusha, the victims of the bombs. War always kills innocent people. It always damages civilians unnecessarily. That seems to me is the most evil thing about the war. Engaging in war only benefits a few who hold too much power in political and economic power, and as long as those who have power continue to act on their greed, war may continue to exist in the world. We know weapons do not bring peace. Nuclear activities require sacrifice zones. Whether uranium mining, testing bombs, transporting and storing radioactive waste, they are dangerous and will continue to harm human and nature for years. Nuclear activities are not safe and not environmental. Just as Mr. Ichiro Moritaki, the founding chairperson of Nihon Hidankyo, said, nuclear and humanity cannot coexist. 80 years from US atomic bombs, we are still in danger of another nuclear war. Russia's threats to use the nuclear weapons against Ukraine. Israel already bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities, and the genocide continues in Gaza. Shame. Also, Japanese government still to dump radioactive waste water in the Pacific Ocean. It's a shame. 80 years from nuclear bombs, we continue to demand the elimination of nuclear weapons. We have to invest in peaceful solutions to all conflicts and problems. We have to listen to hibakusha, Pacific Islanders, and the Native Americans, and all nuclear victims' voice. And we must learn and work together for peace. With this united spirit, there will be World Nuclear Victims Forum in October in Hiroshima. Our Manhattan Project for a Nuclear-Free World will be co-sponsor, honestly. Let's us keep building peace. No more Hiroshima, no more Nagasaki, no more hibakusha, no more war. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kay. Next, Rosemary Pace from Pax Christi, New York, if you'd like to say a few words. Rosemary? She's over here. She's coming.
My name is Rosemary Pace. I'm coordinator of Pax Christi, New York State, a state chapter of Pax Christi USA, the International Catholic Peace Movement. It's my honor to be able to be with you today, to be able to express deep regret for the horrific atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki 80 years ago, to call for the complete abolition of nuclear weapons, and to do so on behalf of Pax Christi. As horrific as the bombings were 80 years ago, We know that their successors are only worse, far more numerous, in the hands of far more countries, and far more deadly, if that can be imagined. And while the nuclear weapons states claim to agree that these weapons should never be used, they continue not only to maintain them, but also to invest in upgrading them, stealing from healthcare, education, affordable housing, living wages, environmental protections, and more. They insist in relying on them for deterrence as they simultaneously threaten their use in Ukraine and Palestine, where Israel's non-nuclear bombing of Gaza with US-made weapons is already estimated to equal 6 to 7 times the destructive power of the nuclear bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. How much worse could a nuclear attack be? And these same nuclear weapon states think they have the right to stop countries like Iran from wanting nothing more than their opponents have. On one hand, they're right. Iran should not have a nuclear bomb, but neither should they. Neither should anyone. Fortunately, I am able to report that from the very beginning of this despicable nuclear age, every pope has spoken out against nuclear weapons. In 1948, Pope Pius XII called nuclear weapons the most terrible weapon that the human mind had ever conceived. In 1963, Pope John XXIII wrote in his encyclical Pacem in Terris, meaning peace on earth, nuclear weapons must be banned. A general agreement must be reached on a suitable disarmament program with an effective system of mutual control. 5 years later, Pope Paul VI spoke to putting an end to the nuclear arms race, explicitly naming disarmament as the goal. In 1981, Pope John Paul II in Hiroshima stated, "Our future on this planet, exposed as it is to nuclear annihilation, depends upon one single factor. Humanity must make a moral about-face." Pope Benedict XVI in 2010 not only questioned nuclear deterrence, but also questioned its very moral legitimacy. Instead, he called for progress toward a collaborative and secure nuclear disarmament. Pope Francis was the most outspoken and explicit in his opposition to nuclear weapons, saying in 2019, "The use of atomic energy for purposes of war is immoral, just as the possessing of nuclear weapons is immoral." And Pope Leo XIV, though Pope for only a few short months, has joined his voice to his predecessors, saying, "The commitment to creating a safer world, free from the nuclear threat, should be pursued through respectful encounter and sincere dialogue, to build a lasting peace based on justice, fraternity, and the common good. No one should ever threaten the existence of another. It is the duty of all countries to support the cause of peace, undertaking paths of reconciliation and promoting solutions that guarantee safety and dignity for all." I conclude with the words of Terumi Tanaka, one of the 3 co-chairpersons of Nihon Hidankyo, the 2024 Nobel Peace Prize winner. "Let not humanity destroy itself with nuclear weapons. Let us work together for a human society in a world free of nuclear weapons and of wars."
Next, I'd like to invite a speaker from Veterans for Peace, Chapter 34. Is Bob Kielbach here? Yes? Bob, would you like to say a few words? Bob? Do you want to say a few words?
Bob Kielbach here from Veterans for Peace, and just here to say nuclear weapons are illegal in the U.S. and every other country, needs to get on board and stop making nuclear weapons, sign the ban treaty, and stop the nuclear race to the bottom, race to Armageddon. No more weapons, no more nukes. Stop the nuclear weapons. Thank you.
No more nukes. 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 Thank you, everyone. Next, I'd like to invite Ruth Ben from New York City War Resisters League to say a few words.
Hi, thank you for having me today, and War Resisters League, and also the National Vortex Resistance Coordinating Committee, which is one of the sponsors. First, I wanted to tell a little piece of WRL history in connection with the commemoration of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Around 50 years ago, Japanese manga artist, writer, and atomic bomb survivor Keiji Nakasawa created a book series called Barefoot Gen, a cartoon story of Hiroshima. Nakazawa was recently inducted into the Eisner Comics Hall of Fame, and Japanese TV is currently running a documentary about the books, which includes the story of how the English translation came about. An activist with the Tokyo pacifist group Project Gen came to the U.S. for a peace walk. It was the Continental Walk for Peace and Disarmament, organized by the War Resisters League. And on that walk, he met Jim Peck, who was a staff member of WRL. And Jim backed the first English printing of the first couple books of Barefoot Gen, and War Resisters League helped distribute these. So there's a lot about it. I mean, you can maybe still find the books, and there's a lot on Wikipedia about the books themselves. So I encourage people to look those up. I think there's been even a new edition in 2004. So I also wanted to give a shout out to colleagues in Boston, Joe Gerson and the Campaign for Peace and Disarmament and Common Security, and other groups who ran an ad yesterday in the Boston Globe commemorating the 80th anniversary that included about 250 individual signers. And they are also going to be out tomorrow for quite a major commemoration event in Boston. But I just wanted to read one short paragraph from the ad. It seemed quite succinct. Nuclear weapons weren't needed when they devastated Hiroshima and Nagasaki 80 years ago. They are more dangerous and more powerful now. Deterrence is a myth, and in the Middle East, Europe, and Asia, we face growing forces pressing for proliferation. It is not a matter of if these genocidal and omnicidal weapons will be used, but when. Add to this the reality that right now the enormous cost of these weapons is robbing Americans and people around the world of health care, housing, education, nutrition, and transit needs we so desperately need. We must and can abolish these weapons. And finally, I noticed a congressperson speaking about Gaza, referencing the list of children killed there, and the words "killed before first birthday," which appeared more than 900 times. So today we also think about so many children in these last 80 decades who have not had a chance to grow up, and so many more who have not had a chance to grow up healthy because of the money wasted on war and weapons. So now is a time for non-cooperation with so much of what is going on worldwide, the reliance on weapons in war, among so many other things. As we continue this struggle, we can take inspiration from Ammon Hennessy, a Catholic worker, lifelong anti-war activist, and what he called his one-man revolution starting in about the 1940s. In response to a question as to whether he could change things, he said, "If I want to change things, I just have to keep on doing what I am doing. That is, every day the government says, pay taxes for war. Every day I do not pay taxes for war. So I win and they lose. So I want to encourage anyone who might think about not paying taxes for war to look up the National War Tax Resistance Coordinating Committee or War Resisters League for more information, or feel free to talk to me. Thank you so much, and no more nukes.
Thank you, Ruth. Great. As we're still waiting for our delegation who went upstairs to the consulate to deliver the open letter to the people of Japan, I'd like to invite up a few more speakers. Robert Kronquist, would you like to say a few words? Robert's down there. Robert? No, he's good, unless he wants to.
Hi, I'm Robert Kronquist. I'm with the New York campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. We got the City Council in 2019 to pass Resolution 976 instructing the comptroller to divest New York City's pensions and finances from nuclear weapons. We've been working for several years with Comptroller Brad Lander to try to get this implemented. We're working right now with the teachers' retirement system. So if there's any retired teachers here who would like to come with us to the trustees meeting on September 18th to help them along the path of divesting New York City's pensions from nuclear weapons, please contact me. We also got New York City to sign the ICANN Cities Pledge and to support the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. I'm thrilled to be here with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And I'd like to invite up Nydia Leaf from the Granny Peace Brigade. I know she's flyering, but if she can hear me, I hope Nydia will come say a few words. Nydia! A couple more speakers, if that's okay, before they give us their report back. I see a couple of Brooklyn for Peace folks here. Would Charlotte Phillips or someone from Brooklyn for Peace like to say some quick words? Woo!
Hi, I'm Charlotte Phillips, the chairperson of Brooklyn for Peace. I've just been struck by how easy it is to forget about what happened 80 years ago today. It's striking that so many people are here today, but certain people are really not even aware of what happened. So I think it's really important for us to be here to keep it in the public consciousness and to do our best to try to continue reminding people about what happened. I also have been struck by how similar the pictures we see coming out of Gaza are to what we see in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You don't really need a nuclear weapon to create that amount of destruction. What I've been thinking is that the dehumanization of people which allowed the nuclear bomb to be dropped on unarmed civilians at Hiroshima and Nagasaki is the same depersonalization that allows the soldiers in the Israeli occupation forces to kill and bomb the people in Gaza, and it allows the Israeli politicians to refuse food, medicine, and water to go into Gaza. So I think the struggles are intimately related, and I'm glad that we're here today really to focus on what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and to remind people that we can let it never happen again. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Charlotte. Is Marjorie Cornwall here from the Peace and Social Justice Committee of the 15th Street Friends meeting? She is? Okay. All right, she's good. She doesn't want to say any words, but I'm happy that she's here and I wanted to acknowledge her presence. I think Marjorie is 90 years old, so thank you for coming out in the heat, Marjorie. I know the wonderful Raging Grannies started us off with some music and they'll close us out later, but Alice or any of the Raging Grannies, would you like to say a quick word?
Raging Grannies, keep raging. We're furious that the United States has never apologized. They never apologized for anything, and because the U.S. never apologized, we just continue the violence, and we're watching it right now in Gaza. and in Palestine and in many other parts of the world. That's what the United States does. We need to end the violence. We need to end nuclear weapons. And like Nadia, I'm so thankful to everybody who's here. I'm so grateful to all of the people who are here with us in Raging Grannies. Thank everyone who continues to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice, and to all of the Raging Grannies for continuing to rage on. Great. Next, I'd like to invite up the delegation that went up to the Japanese consulate to deliver our open letter to give their report back.
Good afternoon, everybody, and good afternoon, passers-by. You may want to stop and listen about why we are here. Everybody, this is an important day. We are commemorating the loss of 250,000 and more lives in Japan because the United States of America dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And we are here to apologize for the actions of the United States government. That's why we're here. So stop and listen to us, because if we do not have peace in the world today, there won't be a world. My name is Susan Schnall. I'm from Veterans for Peace. And yes, we just went upstairs and met with the Japanese consulate to apologize on behalf of our peace veterans and on behalf of the United States and on behalf of the United States military that continues to be involved in death and destruction. But we are here to say no to war and yes to peace. This is 80 years since the United States dropped atomic missiles on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, destroying the lives of 250,000, 300,000 individual lives. It is a catastrophe that we haven't suffered on this land, and it is something we need to take a look at and say no more war. So it is an extraordinary event for all of us, for veterans, for peace, for all of us who want peace in the world today. And we are thankful that the consulate met with us today, with Mari and with Marion, representing different parts of the culture and society in the United States. We met with the Japanese consulate to apologize for the United States government dropping the atomic weapons on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And we need to take a look at the other wars and the other destruction that this government and this military has been involved with. We should have learned 80 years ago, no more war, no more use of nuclear weapons, no more targeting of civilians. And my God, today we say, stop the war in Gaza, stop it.
Stop the war in Gaza.
Stop the war on Iran, stop the war in Yemen, stop the United States military from going on every country on this planet. We need to take action, and we need to say no more war. We have learned from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We have learned. We need to stop war, and we need to deal with our government and deal with the United States military that continues to pick people up off the streets in this country, on our land. And please understand who they target. They don't go to Wall Street. They don't go to Park Avenue. They go to immigrant communities. They go to the fields. They go after the most vulnerable of our people. I think I need to stop. So thank you all for being here. Just to say we have work to do on behalf of Veterans for Peace. Thank you, Georgia. Yes, it's the fist. We need to stop the war machine, and we can. And all of you who keep walking by and think these are ordinary times, you too may be picked up by the police and by ICE. Join us today. Thank you.
My name is Marion Ronan, and I went up to speak to the consul on behalf of Brooklyn for Peace, an anti-war group that I'm on the board of. And a major part of what I said is how deeply ashamed we are of the immoral attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki by our government, how profoundly ashamed we are. Now, I did admit that the United States specializes in obscenities, that we massacred millions of indigenous people and then we enslaved millions of Africans, so that we shouldn't be surprised that we then killed many Japanese. But I'm ashamed and I apologize deeply for all of that. I also said that as a member of Pax Christi, the Catholic peace movement, I was deeply ashamed of the attack on Nagasaki because the largest Catholic community in Japan was in the Nagasaki prefecture, and St. Francis Xavier, the great missionary, founded the Catholic community in Nagasaki. And a lot of the Catholic churches I've gone to over the years, nobody ever mentions it. And we bombed the cathedral in Nagasaki and destroyed it, the Catholic cathedral. So I am deeply ashamed and apologetic for that. And what I want to say is, as a result of this anniversary, we must get together and demand an end of nuclear weapons. We're spending $1.5 trillion right now, the U.S., upgrading our nuclear arsenal. Another American obscenity. We have to stop it. Amen.
Hello, my name is Marie Noet of Manhattan Project for Nuclear Free World. We have been organizing this peace gathering in front of the Japanese consulate since 2015. So this is 10th year, 11th year. So thank you so much for all of you for coming here today. It's a very important year. It's the 80th anniversary of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and many atomic bomb survivors are still fighting in court because some of them are still not recognized by their own government that they're not as a nuclear victims. There are nuclear victims outside Japan as well, like who happened to be in Japan at that time. For example, the Korean hibakusha who are there as a forced laborers or who lived in Japan during the war, and there were also tens of thousands of them were impacted. And there were other foreign residents in Japan as well, and they were also impacted, including Japanese Americans who were in Hiroshima, for example. So there is a large population of Japanese American hibakusha. For example, in LA, you will learn more about them at the museum, Japanese American Museum. Well, we have a lot of work to do, but seeing all of you here is very encouraging. So let's keep fighting so that we can abolish nuclear weapons and also abolish wars and achieve a peaceful world. So thank you so much. And we would like to read an open letter which was endorsed by more than 40 organizations, and that was submitted to the Japanese consulate today. So please join us reading the open letter. Thank you.
I'm told it's over 60 organizations that endorsed this letter. So now we'll read it.
Please join us reading the open letter.
In observance of the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombings of Japan, we, the undersigned, representing a coalition of concerned peace and civil society organizations in the United States, are advocating for the elimination of nuclear weapons globally. We join to express our profound regrets and apologies for our nation's atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Although our government has not apologized officially for this horror, we would like to extend our deepest condolences to the atomic bomb survivors in Hibakusha and descendants of the Hibakusha, as well as all those impacted by the U.S. nuclear testing who have endured great mental and physical hardships for decades. May you and the generations behind you continue to heal, speak truth to power, and walk towards justice. Given that 80 years have passed since the U.S. atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and 4 years since the entry into force of the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW, we might have expected that the threat of nuclear annihilation would have greatly diminished by now. But that is not the case. The doomsday clock of the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists places us at 89 seconds to midnight, the closest it has been since the launching of the clock in 1947. Consider, for example, the many times during wars and international crises that the U.S. has prepared and threatened first-strike nuclear attacks. The threat of the use of nuclear weapons by Russia in its years-long war with Ukraine, or the attacks by covertly nuclear-armed Israel on Iran since June, with no intervention by European nations or the United States to stop the escalating war there. Administration has also ordered an increase in the National Nuclear Security Administration's budget from $19 billion this year to roughly $25 billion in the 2026 fiscal year, a rise of 29%. Its intent is to modernize the nation's nuclear arsenal and, quote, protect the American people. It is said that the weapons budget supports a, quote, safe, secure, reliable, and effective stockpile. But we know this will only bring us closer to catastrophe, whether accidentally or intentionally. The nuclear arms budget would fund work on 6 simultaneous warhead modernization programs, including a nuclear sea-launched cruise missile, nuclear propulsion systems for the U.S. Navy, and upgraded nuclear sites throughout the science and production complex, none of which will make us safe or secure. Compounding this U.S. nuclear escalation, the other 8 nuclear-armed nations have gone ahead with modernization of their nuclear programs. Some of the countries have added a large number of nuclear-armed bombs and missiles, are upgrading their existing weapons, and are developing newer and more lethal versions. In addition, 14 years since the beginning of the Fukushima Daiichi power plant disaster, and 2 years after the beginning of the dumping of 1.3 million metric tons of radioactive wastewater from the nuclear site into the Pacific Ocean, has signed a series of executive orders titled Reinvigorate the Nuclear Industrial Base, reforming nuclear reactor testing at the Department of Energy, and ordering the reform of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission with the goal of reestablishing the United States as a global leader in nuclear energy, ignoring the enormous mental and radioactive harm done to the Hibakusha. who survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and to the indigenous peoples in the Pacific and the United States caused by nuclear testing and uranium activities. The United States now proposes to vastly increase the possibility of nuclear disaster through new nuclear reactors. The use of nuclear technology, whether military or civilian, comes with enormous risks and incalculable consequences. It is not a solution to the world's climate crisis. It undermines democracy, and it is not economically viable. Effective global nuclear disarmament will not be possible as long as we continue to allow the commercial use of plutonium and highly enriched uranium. We, the signers of this letter, are deeply ashamed of the actions of the United States and other nuclear-armed nations, including Israel, who continue to increase the likelihood of a nuclear-powered disaster, either through nuclear war or as a result of disasters at nuclear sites. The only alternative to such catastrophes is that we come together, as we do outside the Japanese consulate in New York City, to recall and repent for the U.S. crimes against humanity that were the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and to demand that all nuclear weapons manufacturing plants be shut down and all nuclear weapons be abolished. All people must know of this horrific history and do all in our power to end the increasing threat of worse nuclear catastrophes in the months and years to come. Everybody together, come on. No more Hiroshimas, no more Nagasaki's, no more Fukushima, no more war, no more Hibakusha. Never again.
Never again. Never again.
Thank you so much, everyone. I think that's the end of our speaking program. I'd like to give it back to the Raging Grannies to rage us on.
I'm just waiting for her to get free.
Annihilating palace
Nagasaki burned to ash. Thousands vanished in that flash. The world must never forget that crime. And now it seems they want to sing that song once more. They are the world conspirators. We heard them sing that song before. We must do all that we can. This warfare must be banned. We must stop all endless wars. No more war. No more war. No more wars. No more wars. No more wars.
Nuclear proliferation. Okay, we're nuclear proliferation. Yeah. Let me start again.
Nuclear proliferation. We must stop its global spread. For the peoples of the whole world have to live in fear and dread. We must all tell all the nations we cannot have nuclear war. Peace and justice, common safety, that is what we're marching for. We must destroy atomic weapons. We must make them disappear. We cannot have island shattering and the bombs are everywhere. There's a nuclear weapons treaty binding internationally. Obey the law, eliminate them, sign up and join the sanity.
This land.
This land must be this land. Remember Kings Bay, Chapter 7, went to Georgia to stop nuke weapons. Because of Dr. King brought love and courage. This land must be nuke weapons free. That's your line. At the U.S. Naval Base, they brought a message with signs and singing and peaceful presence that nukes had transformed to what he said. Sing with us! This land must be nuke weapons free. They were in danger, that did not stop them. Arrest and prison, they're only stronger. Their inspiration will help us shout out. Sing it! This land must be nuke weapons free. This world is our world, now in great danger. We must transform it for living beings. So join the struggle to save the planet. Sing it! This world must be nuke weapons free. One more time. This world must be nuke weapons free. Raging Grannies, New York City.
We're singing.